Hey guys, what's going on? We got another Mythic Plus video here, but this time I am on the Prot Warrior because we learned some new tech and I wanted to show this, so I figured what the heck. Anyways, we're doing a plus 24 Atal Dazar, and the new tech we learned is on Rezan, as you will see coming up soon. But as for the video, it'll be the same as always, break down all the mechanics to bosses and what affixes we have. But first I wanted to explain what we learned. So if you don't know, one of Rezan's mechanics is a Fixate, and if he catches the target, they end up getting munched on by him. But some classes such as Hunters or Rogues can use Vanish or Feign Death to avoid it. You can also use Night Elf Shadow Meld to also avoid it as the cast starts, because he drops Sight and then he just cancels this whole Fixate mechanic. But what we learned in this is when our Death Knight Astron made a mistake, or I'm not sure if it was a mistake or if a bug kind of happened where he picked him up, he panicked and pressed Icebound Fortitude right away. Well, apparently when he was picking him up, he was considered stunned. So since he pressed Icebound Fortitude, it actually canceled the infect entirely. So we thought it was a weird bug. So as the good WoW scientists we are, we peer pressured him into purposely getting caught in his jaws. And because he has the human racial, he was able to actually use it to get out of the bite. But as you see, he Icebound Fortitudes and he drops him. So that's some new tech we learned. If you have a stun immunity of sorts, go ahead and press it then and you should be free. And you will see the second part anyways soon enough. But let's get into the mechanics of Rezan. So as you saw, he does his Fixate. His second mechanic is his Fear. That's why you use these two side pillars to LOS him. The third mechanic, if you want to consider it, is the tank mechanic that causes the bleed on the tank, which takes massive bleed damage plus increased physical damage. And then every time he runs into one of those purple piles there, he'll spawn an ad. But if you just saw, Astron was able to deny Rezan his bite mechanic. So pretty interesting to learn that. I didn't know about it. I don't know if other people did, but that is it for Rezan. If you stay on this side, left side, or even the right side, you can use these two big pillars and just run them up and down this little aisle. So, but as for the affixes we have Fortified, which means the trash mobs do a significant more and have more health. Entangling, which you see right there, you just run out of the circle or use some sort of movement impairing removal, such as Freedom or Avatar for warriors. Spirit Walk for shamans, because I feel like most of my audience is shamans, so you can use that, and also Thunderous Paws, just to remove it. The last mechanic is Bolstering, which has been modified, if you didn't know, since the start of Dragonflight. It only increases target's damage and also has a set duration. It no longer increases HP. But only certain mobs also bolster. Majority of them do, but those small things like the little swords there, they do not bolster, thankfully. But yeah, onto these Sky Screamers, we have one mechanic you have to deal with, which is their Fear. So you can see the little timer with the skull and crossbones. That is the Fear timer. If they get it off, the whole group is feared. Later on it can become a problem, as I will explain when we get there. But on to the next set of trash. Here I had to run out of the dungeon because I was in the incorrect talents, unfortunately. So I run out, I apply the correct talents like a good tank should, and then I run back in. But as you can see, it's a 24 and we end up having a few mistakes, but still it was a little close by the end. But we definitely didn't feel any issues in the dungeon at all. But on to the next set of trash. We got a reanimated honor guard. These are a big problem, especially on Fortified Week. They explode with nature damage, and they also cause Rending Maul on your tank. That does stack up. You can parry it, so hopefully cross your fingers. but this is where you want to be careful, helping your healer as much as possible. As you can see, the damage is a bit absurd. Defensives is good, or for shamans you can use ancestral guidance to help out your healer when he starts proccing like this. And then we have the shield bearers of Zul. So these guys cast a AoE damage reduction. The only way to stop it is a stun. So you want to make sure you stagger your stuns out so you don't immunity them too fast. So for shamans you can use Cap Totem, Warrior's Shockwave, Stormbolt even. You know, just be careful not to cause them to be immune too fast. If you're Tauren, you can even War Stomp it. If you're Ellie Shaman, cross your fingers that Earthquake works. But that's it for them. They do a tank buster, but it's kind of mediocre, so, and it doesn't really affect the group, just affects the tank, so it's not much to look out for. As for routes, some people like to go to the, I call it the gold side, where the priestess is, those mobs. I don't like going over there just because of the mobs. I really dislike, because they feel like if you miss one kick, you end up having to wipe, and it is super unfortunate. Whereas I find this side is much easier to deal with and a bit more straightforward as well. But on to what these guys do. So we got the Zanchuli Witch Doctor, I think it is. They're gonna spam cast Venom Blast, which you want to interrupt, and then they will also cast a Hex, which also causes an AoE effect. So if it is dispelled or runs out of duration on top of the group, it will cause everybody in that circle to be hexed as well. As you see here, I've had to run away a little bit just because damage was going off like crazy. Not sure what the heck was trucking me, because it really didn't feel like anything should have been, but I ran away just in case because I didn't really have anything left in the tank. As for the little rogue guys that you saw, and you'll see one coming up here in this pack, they put a poison on their weapon, and that causes you to take 100% increased nature damage when it applies an application to the tank. And they also do a Phantom Knives, which I believe can apply an application to everybody in the area. As you see, he does Venom Strike. That triggers his poisons. If I don't parry, if I continue parrying, then it won't get on me. But if he's able to hit me, I do take a significant amount more nature damage, which is what the Honor Guard does. So those two mixed up, you'll start seeing me take a lot of damage, which is super unfortunate. I also get a bit unlucky with parry chances, having a triple bleed on me. So I have a 45% parry chance baseline. Kind of weird that he was able to get 3 off in a row, but is what it is. So yeah, just make sure you're interrupting, watching your health, helping your healer as much as you can, and trying to kill this Honor Guard as fast as possible. That is the primary target. The only thing higher than that is the Zanchuli Witch Doctor. That takes priority because the Venom Blasts don't have a specific target. Like every caster in this dungeon meta, it targets whoever. So that would be your main focus to take out. Spam kick, stun, whatever you got. Just try and remove those casts from going off. But as you see here, I randomly take a massive hit. I think my shield block may have fell off, but it seemed really unlikely. But just came back in and started taking no damage. Astron fell there. I think it may have been a Venom Blast that got him, unfortunately. When you start getting these packs, especially at higher keys, they become a pretty annoying problem. But it definitely is completely doable, and it's honestly a lot more fun when there's more danger. But we're coming up to the second boss, but just before that, we want to grab the 2 stealth stalker guys that are on the stairs, and then we want to pull them into the Honor Guard and double Witch Doctor. I find doing that is better than pulling the rogues into the bottom pack, because just for lust purposes, it really depends. If you don't have lust, maybe pull it down and then come back up. But if you have lust coming up like we do, we want to get to the boss as fast as possible because we want that lust on its timer really fast and very soon because we want it for the last boss. So here, I thought they were gonna double cast on me. Unfortunately, they didn't. So I went ahead and shockwaved it all. That way I can stop all their casts. There we did a reflect. I think it was Vigram. He was actually able to reflect the hex, and it ended up hexing him again anyways, so it was kind of funny. If you reflect hex, it causes the target to get the debuff, but that AoE circle still applies to you and not his teammates, so do be careful about that if you see it happen. It is super unfortunate that that can't happen. It would have been funny to see them all get hexed, but it is what it is. But as you can see, we are cleaning up the trash here, and then we want to get onto the second boss. So, on this boss, the primary mechanic is the totems. Now what does this do? Just like the honor guard, as soon as you kill the totem, he starts enraging and causing AoE pulsing. But if the totems are not dead, he does not take damage. Well, he takes damage, but he just heals it right back. So what this guy does is he has 3 totems. You have to take them out at the exact same time. Or not. I think you have a 10-second, or yeah, I think it's 10 seconds in between each one. So you have to make sure you are on point with it. The biggest mechanic here for him is going to be his cast. Now, if you have a ranged kick, such as like a shaman, try to have him on your focus and be ready to kick in case your tank can't kick. The other mechanic, as you can see, is the toxic leap. That is an AoE effect. He randomly chooses a target and leaps on them. So we got very lucky with having him on top of us the whole time. I guess you can consider it luck. It's not entirely luck because it is kind of annoying having to deal with, but it leaves it so I can interrupt them very easily. Once these go down, as you can see, they're all getting pretty low, so we're watching. You gotta watch all the HPs. We're getting ready to take them out all at the same time. As you can see, the diamond one there is a bit high, so we're all gonna jump over there. Poor Astrid got caught in the toxic leap, and he is our battle res. So we ended up doing this fight without him. That is what took so much time, but it goes to show you that you don't need your whole squad up to take this guy out. He is very simple. Once those totems go down, it's a free boss. The only thing you gotta watch for is, just like the honor guards, he's spewing out these nature puddles. If you stand at it, it actually does take, it does tick quite hard, but it does take 1 or 2 seconds of you standing in it in order for it to tick. So just be careful. Your tank should be slowly cutting him around the room. The original design of this boss back in BFA, the poison puddles did not disappear. A recent change, I don't know when it happened, causes these puddles to disappear now. So you don't have to worry about complete movement of the boss. You don't need perfect placements or anything. It does disappear, and it usually starts disappearing once you get about halfway. That if you're going a certain amount of speed, obviously. I don't know the exact timer of it, but you'll start seeing it disappear as I come around the corner and about halfway in between this little line here. But as you can see, not a whole lot of damage is going out. The poison debuff from him is the priority here. Make sure you're interrupting. If you have a demon hunter in the group, make sure you let him know that he should have priority over interrupts, and that is because they generate fury. That is the one benefit from the interrupt, so just keep that in mind. If you're playing a demon hunter, try to have the fastest fingers for interrupting, because you do gain a slight DPS increase with that fury generation. But the boss is being slowly whittled down. Poor Astrid is sitting there watching, contemplating why he's dead. But we get him up right after we kill this guy, and then we move on to the pack downstairs. As you can see, very simple entangling, not even a mechanic to be honest. Yeah, this week is definitely a push week. I know I post my videos at the end of the week, but hopefully you got some good pushing in this week. because it definitely was honestly, the past 3 weeks have been great weeks. Bolstering does make it a bit annoying, especially in a dungeon like Wakecrest Manor, where where some of the mobs that bolster, I don't think should bolster. But as you can see, we forgot to lust, so we went ahead and just lusted this pack. You want to make sure your lust cooldown is on time. You don't want to miss one. And that is because you lose out on a massive buff. Now, we're using drums and not a proper lust, so we're missing out, I believe, on 15 or 20% haste. So it does feel kind of bad not having it, but at the same time, it's better than not having it at all. As you can see, I kind of chain into the swords, or the Sky Screamer, pardon me, and then I make sure I have my kick when I do this, because I want to make sure that we do not get feared. But working on these, we want to continue going forward. The swords, you cannot control them. They will leap at whoever, so try to stay in melee so that way you can get the big AoE stuns off and stuff like that. So as you can see, he's about to fall, so I'm like, okay, chain pull. If you're bolstering one mob, it really doesn't feel all that bad. It's when you pull one mob and bolster 6 things, that's when you don't want to chain pull. You want to be very careful of that, because bolster increases the damage of each nearby enemy by 20% on death, unfortunately, but it does fall off after, I believe it's 15 or 20 seconds, so it does affect a little bit, but if you think you can handle it, go for it. It does get annoying in sometimes because like the Witch Doctors or the Honor Guard, if it gets bolstered too much, it definitely will one-shot you at some point. So that's when you have to be careful. But this is where an issue comes in with the Sky Screamers. You will see in a second when I look up, you will see some Sky Screamers on the 2 pillars here. Be very careful of how you pull these. Sometimes they bug out and get stuck up there. As I run past, I tend to taunt down once I'm at this position, and I've never had an issue, but I've seen some where they try and pull them down, like a Death Grip or a Chi Wave from Brewmaster, and they just sit up there. I'm not sure what triggers them to come down or what triggers them to stay up there, but I haven't had an issue once I reach this position and throw a Axe Toss or a Taunt at them. They've always come down for me, so keep that in mind when you're working. If you are a shaman and you feel uncomfortable with the group, maybe bring Tremor Totem. Definitely a huge benefit. You do lose a bit of utility, but losing a bit of the utility over being feared for 20 seconds, definitely a huge gain there. But as we take out these guys, we are working on the Ancient Priestess mobs. These guys are a big pain. This first pack isn't so bad. The Augurs, they cast Wildfire, which puts a dot on the target, as you will see in a moment. They will start casting, and they will put a dot on somebody. As you can see, Hawk has 2 stacks, and he just does a Dispel. If you're a warrior, you can Spell Reflect, but it's best just to interrupt. Pretty simple. When these guys are, when the Augurs are paired with a Berserker, I believe it's called, as you will see in the next pack, they cast something called Fiery Weapon. That causes the unit to do a Blade Storm and spit out fiery swirlies. That needs to be interrupted, stunned, or stopped somehow instantly. That will tend to wipe your group because it is it's a lot of damage, and it also causes area of effect, so it tends to be not very good. As you will see, we do let a couple ticks go off, and you will see the amount of swirlies it spawns with just that small amount of ticks. So here we go. I'm on the Augur, and there it is, the Juggernaut. I think I also fall over here. Somehow some of the guys got behind me, and they were able to smack me with the Tank Buster, and I couldn't block it. So as you can see, I have mobs behind me. It's really annoying trying to get everything in front, but is what it is, unfortunately. So the Augur's casting Wildfire. He's spamming it, and then here in a second he's going to cast Fiery Weapon. There it is, Fiery Enchant. As you can see, it spawned 5 swirlies right away, and we only let 1 tick go off. And then poor Adley got blasted by the Juggernaut because he's bolstered and berserked at the same time, so he didn't even stand a chance. Yeah, so they got behind me, unfortunately. So I get up, I AoE taunt. Actually, I don't have that. So I just sit here soloing the mobs, unfortunately. If you're a prot warrior tank, make sure everything is in front of you at all times. Very, very important. But from here on out, there wasn't any issues, so quite fortunate on our part. Unfortunate there that everybody died, but I didn't let the mobs reset, which is good. So we ended up just cleaning up the rest of it. But yeah, those little honor guards, they do a tank buster, and if they get behind you, they get behind you. I don't know, it's so weird. Mobs tend to move on their own, and it's ridiculous sometimes. But we're gonna quickly go pull 2 mobs over on the left by the staircase to finish off percent, and then we move on to Priestess Alunsa. I don't know how to pronounce that. But same thing here, interrupt Wildfire, interrupt Fiery Enchant if it goes off, and try to stop the Juggernaut. You can use roots and stuff on his charge. You can also stun him on his cast charge, and that will prevent it from going off. So just be wary of it. It does hurt a lot, but it generally won't kill you if you are paying attention. Sometimes that happens because he's bolstered and berserked at the same time, and it took out poor Hawk. So, but we're gonna battle Rezan, and we are gonna move on to the Priestess. So there are 3 mechanics of this boss. The important one is the ad. So it's gonna spawn an ad that wants to chase after those blood puddles that you see in the back. Those are going to be a huge benefit later on. But so you want to focus it down, or banish it, or incap it, however you want to deal with it. I prefer to kill them. So, and then before the transfusion cast goes off, you want to collect your blood puddle. What this does is it causes the boss to hurt herself rather than heal herself. If you don't collect the blood puddle, the transfusion will cause the boss to heal, and it is a significant amount. If all 5 of you do not have the blood buff, she will heal to full, guaranteed. If you do have the blood buff, she will usually lose about 30% of her HP. So it usually takes 3 transfusions for her to go down. Very simple mechanic. There is a healer mechanic that causes the somebody to get a magic debuff. As you see, I have it, and I am getting monstered, unfortunately, but because prot warriors don't have a huge amount against magical damage. Also, dodge the golden orbs, they do hurt. If you have a magic thing like AMS or something, you can ignore them, kind of, but it's always best just to avoid them entirely. As you see, we're about to take her out, but we're all like, okay, let's grab our puddles just in case, and she ends up taking herself out, thankfully. This boss, there is no real damage requirement, it's really just a healing requirement. She injures herself more than you're gonna hurt her anyways, so 3 transfusion phases and she's done for. As long as everybody gets all 5, or everybody gets their blood puddles. Very simple boss, probably the easiest one out of the whole dungeon, but there is a big burst of damage when that happens, so try to help out your healer with the defensive or AoE healing as much as you can. But on to the boss that gives the most of the player base the most difficulty. Man, I can't talk. So as you can see here on the staircase, and how V just totally accidentally walked onto that, not on purpose, the spiders hurt a lot. And generally if you walk on one, you will be taken out. Thankfully it's not tyrannical, but this boss has a lot of HP. So there are three mechanics. The first mechanic is going to be racking pain. This used to be interruptible, it is no longer interruptible. What that's going to do is it's going to pick a target and it's going to blast them with shadow damage and then a shadow dot. If you are a Death Knight, you can AMS it. If you are a warrior, you can spell reflect it. Other than that, try and use a defensive. The second mechanic is Soul Rend. What that does is she launches basically spears at the targets and causes their soul to appear. Try to use a defensive or make sure you are at full health because it does hurt and it does do ticking damage. But as soon as that happens, you have to take out the 4 spectral souls as soon as possible or before they reach the boss. If they reach the boss, it causes an AoE dot that does significant amount of damage, and if more than one get to the boss, then it's going to keep stacking. If one does get to the boss, it's generally a wipe anyways, so just keep that in mind. Make sure you take out all of the things before you get back to the boss. The third mechanic is going to be the spiders on the floor. Every so often, she will tell them to charge at your teammates or you guys. As you can see, when they get big, they start focusing you. If they are small, they are just going to patrol a small area, so just be wary of that. That's why you'll see tanks move around the room quite a lot. It does get to a point where there are a lot of spiders on the ground. As you can see, they're taking it out, and the Soul Rend is getting a bit close, so I'm like, oh no, so I start pulling the boss a bit further away just to make sure they have a little bit more time to take them out. And now we're safe. The skewer mechanic is kind of mediocre, especially for a prot warrior. It really doesn't do anything at all. It's definitely one of the weakest tank busters in my opinion. I don't know how it is for other classes, but for prot warrior it's almost nothing. But yeah, this is the boss that gives most groups trouble because they don't know how to deal with spiders and they get overwhelmed by the amount of spiders happening. But as you see, the Soul Rend is out, they brought it to a corner and the spiders are moving towards them, so I'm like, okay, I see a free position, so I'm going to move the boss so it's much faster. You'll see here, Vigram charges the boss and runs right into a spider. He's very lucky he didn't die. We were all shocked about that, but very happy at the same time. But yeah, that is basically it for the video. If there is I believe I still have one more dungeon to do before all dungeons are done, and then I don't know what I'm going to do about the Mystic Plus ones, but I will try and post higher and higher keys. I will try and get more enhancement shaman videos out. I just saw this one and we had the whole new Rezan tech. So I was like, oh man, that'd be cool to show. So yeah. But anyways, that is it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you learned something new. Let me know if you already knew about the stun mechanic. Being able to be skewered. I knew about the stealth and feign death, but I didn't know you could use a stun immunity. So let me know if you already knew that or not. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Laters!